Member for Hastings.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I'm very happy that it's my time to make my contribution to the Agricultural and Food Safety Legislation Amendment Bill of 2024. Just to touch on what this bill seeks to amend, it will make small changes to the Food Act, the Meat Act, the Seafood Safety Act and the Dairy Act, aiming to improve the operational functions of Victorian food safety regulators and deliver more effective food safety regulation. Basically what that means is this bill is there making small changes to support our farmers, not to regulate them or push them into a little box, but it's just to help them do and continue to do what they do so well. Food, we all need it. We all have our favourite dishes, places to eat, places to buy from, and we all want to make sure we know what we are getting and it's not going to make us sick as well. I've got a story for you. As consumers, we can do our part to make sure that the food we prepare is safe. We wash our hands before touching anything, clean vegetables, make sure things are cooked through, even if it means sacrificing a few pieces of chicken to see if it's no longer pink in the middle. Please actually don't that. Please get a food safe, fast read food thermometer. Much better for you. But we also want to be sure that where we buy our food from is safe. And our producers across Victoria certainly want this as well, which is why food safety is so incredibly important. And this bill will make sure that our food safety regulations are effective, transparent, and doing its job to protect consumers and producers as well. This bill will also better protect restaurant trade, as restaurateurs can be safe in the knowledge of where the produce they buy and prepare comes from and has been treated appropriately. And it reminds me of a story way back in 1986. I was. My then girlfriend and I were travelling around Florence. I married her the year after. I'm still married to her, which is great. But we went to a little trattoria at the back streets of Florence and we had a lovely meal. I can't quite remember what my wife had, or my girlfriend, but being an adventurous eater, I had the rabbit. At the end of the meal, the waiter came up and took my girlfriend's plate and said, "How was that?" My girlfriend said, "Delicious." And then the waiter took my plate and said, "How was that?" And I said, "It was delicious." And as he walked off, he looked at me in the eyes and he went, "Meow." Now, I'm pretty sure it was rabbit, but there are a lot of stray cats in the streets in Florence. Now, but my point is, I'm not going there. But my point is, if they had this kind of bill back then in Florence, that would not have been at all a possibility. Anyway, moving right along. When it comes to food, a safety concern has to be tackled quickly and effectively. And especially if you don't think you're eating what you are, any time wasted can lead to an outbreak of illness or, in worst case scenarios, death. Indeed. This bill will make changes to the Meat Industry Act that will allow the regulator, PrimeSafe, to share information to specified circumstances directly to the Minister for Agriculture and Agriculture Victoria. Currently, PrimeSafe inspectors cannot share information that they have legally gathered as part of their duties with other regulators, government agencies or law enforcement, unless the Minister intervenes. These changes will allow those inspectors to report directly to the Minister or Agriculture Victoria, ensuring that animal welfare is taken seriously and those that are doing the wrong thing are identified and steps are taken to rectify the situation. Further, with these changes, PrimeSafe will not be able to provide information to the media, create online name and shame, or share information about the compliance history of a business. It's simply to allow them to pass along information to the appropriate body or regulator, ensuring a more transparent food safety process and reduce risk of poor business practices. The bill will enhance and clarify regulations surrounding raw milk, which is prohibited for consumption in Australia due to serious food safety risks. And I did hear the member previously in her debate say that we got it wrong because we didn't include this in the bill when it was re-looked at in 2022. The fact is, our job is to find things we may have missed and to clarify them, and that is what this bill is doing. We are looking after our community. Raw milk can contain harmful bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli and Listeria, which can cause severe illness or even death, particularly in vulnerable groups such as young children, pregnant women, the elderly and those with weakened immune systems. To mitigate these dangers, requirements to pasteurise milk in line with the Australian-New Zealand Food Standards Code and to treat raw milk products such as bath milk in ways that deter human consumption by putting bittering agents in them will be incorporated directly into the Dairy Act, currently administered by Dairy Food Safety Victoria. Moving these requirements from existing dairy licensing conditions into the Dairy Act will make it simpler for those in the dairy industry and sellers of raw milk products to understand their food safety obligation regarding raw milk. These changes will also ensure that penalties for non-compliance reflect the significant risk that raw milk presents to public health. Now, I am aware that in the market in Victoria you can buy something called cold-pressed raw milk. What happens is once this milk is bottled and sealed, it is then placed into special machinery and it goes through a process of cold water high pressure processing to destroy harmful microorganisms. Interestingly, there's other foodstuffs like juices, dips, meat products, seafood, and I think some beers are also pasteurised with high pressure processing. The Food Standards Code requires milk to be pasteurised either by heat or by other methods that achieve an equivalent food safety outcome. The high pressure processing pasteurises the milk without heat, but the cold pressed raw milk is by no means raw milk. So I just thought I'd let people understand that if they're listening at home, Acting Speaker, or even in the chamber. Oh, thank you. An additional change this bill will make is to the Seafood Safety Act, and a lot of that's been talked about already. This change is essentially bringing the seafood industry in line with the meat industry, as it's allowing for Prime Safe to ensure that seafood safety licensees are fit and proper persons and not allowing businesses to use the illegal activity of phoenixing, which is where someone closes a business, transfer it to a new business, yet everything is still controlled by the same people. By putting in place a fit and proper person provision, it just makes sure that seafood licences are being issued to those that are doing the right thing, which is producing high quality seafood for Victorians. And we all know we have gone to fish shops and we're not sure whether we're buying tiger prawns that have been farmed up in Queensland or out in the Indian Ocean or in Vietnam. So there is to some extent, unfortunately, people that will always flout the law. Not only will this bill make food safety regulation more transparent, safe and effective, but it will also address key recommendations made by VAGO, which is the Victorian Auditor General's Office, in their June 2023 report on regulating food safety. Now, pardon me, VAGO audited 5 of Victoria's 79 local councils to examine whether councils were complying with their legislative responsibilities for food safety to protect the public. VAGO found that not all audited councils were complying with requirements to assess or inspect all premises, and they made a number of recommendations to the Department of Health. The amendments to the Food Act included in this bill address one of those recommendations, and work relevant to the other recommendation is being processed and progressed by the department. Just talking about farmers and producers, not just farmers, but food producers, manufacturers. I used to do a food show and I travelled around Australia, New Zealand, and I also went to Kenya, meeting farmers, going to farms, going to producers, talking to the people that really cared about their animals, really cared about their crops, really cared about the land. I always felt that it was the farmers that really understood what was going on with climate change, and also the farmers that have their feet in the dirt every day that are looking after the future of the land for our families. So this bill is not about talking about farmers and the fact all producers are doing the wrong thing. They care deeply about their produce. They care deeply about giving us the best possible food and produce that they can. These changes in this Act, they're small changes to the Food Act, they're needed, and I think they should always be taken seriously. In closing, Acting Speaker, I'd just like to say I am pretty sure it was rabbit. I commend this bill to the House.